Alright, what's going on, guys? Currently recording this in my car right now, just leaving my car engine running because it's in the middle of winter and I have to do this. Um, and yeah, I gotta say, today is truly one of the days of all time, one of the days of my entire life. If I had to make a tier list of crappy days I've had, I would rank today to be, maybe like an S minus tier. Not quite an S tier, but at least S minus. Not because anything horrible happened, but it's more about the symbolism. Like I realized today is it's gonna represent what's typical. The typical day for the rest of my life. I woke up, boom, 2 rejection emails. Right, like, thank you for applying to this company, but like I remember putting in hours and hours of work into these applications too, right? Just preparing for their ridiculous online assessments, just multiple rounds of online assessments before I can even meet one person. And just like that, just woke up to, oh, thank you for applying to our company. Unfortunately, we will not be moving forward with you because you stink. Thank you for nowadays, like, I've become so numb to this kind of crap that whenever an email starts with thank you for, boom, I just close it off. I just don't even bother reading it. Like, what is it going to be? A thank you for applying. Congratulations, you won the Nobel Prize. Like, come on, let's be honest here. Like, stop coping. It's over. Thank you for, nope, just closed, right? I'm just done. I don't need that negativity in my life. And so, good start to my day, right? Good start to my day. Just off the bat, a nice little reminder that I'm slowly getting priced out of my country. Just no job, no nothing, no future. It is what it is. And yeah, this just got me thinking about the kind of life experience I'm getting, right? I feel like I'm getting the Life Deluxe package, like Life Deluxe, all in one, buy one, get one free, unemployed, broke, no friends, failure, the whole package, all in one at a steep discount. And yeah, like, can you imagine the average girl nowadays probably wakes up at like 12 p.m., skips all her classes and gets 10 DMs from her harem of beta male orbiters. Oh, good morning, queen. Good morning. How are you today? You're so pretty. And then she ignores all those ugly chuds, opens Instagram. Her Instagram comments are all her girlfriends hyping her up. Oh, you ate, queen, you ate. And she feels so validated. She feels so beautiful. She feels so desired. And then I'm over here waking up to, unfortunately, thank you for putting in 20 hours into our application. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, you suck. You suck. Keep being unemployed, brokey. My fault, man. My bad. My bad for trying to move on to the next stage of my life, right? I think my first mistake was trying. That's my first and last mistake. Yeah, so that's a great start to my day, right? I've been eating like shit too. When I woke up, I felt like absolute trash because I've been eating like shit. Ever since I started job hunting, I realized I've put the rest of my life on hold because I thought if I could just get this one thing right, if I just put my all into this, just put the rest of my life on hold. I just need to get this one thing, just get a job, and I can move on to the next stage of my life. Everyone else is moving on. Everyone else is progressing. It's just me. I just need to find a job and just move on to the next stage. So yeah, I've basically put my life on hold. I've been eating like shit. I bought these sour strawberry candy strips from Trader Joe's for like $4.50. And oh my God, bro, like one box, there were a ton of these sour strips. And I just devoured half of them in one night last night just because of how depressed I was. And I woke up just completely, it's like a sugar crash hangover. What else? I stopped going to the gym. I stopped talking to my family. I stopped talking to my friends. I was just like so unmotivated to do anything other than, it wasn't this bad in the beginning, right? In the beginning, I was just like, just looking for jobs, it's just a part of life. And then like, eventually I realized a few months in to the job search that something was wrong. I'm just getting no offers, and I'm just like putting in more and more effort. Eventually it just came down to this, just me just completely cutting off all social interactions. And I was just unmotivated to do anything other than job apps. So I didn't start my car for the entire winter. I actually have a car, and you're supposed to start your car at least once every 2 days or so, especially in this weather. I live in Chicago, and Chicago winter, for those of you who don't know, is ridiculous. It's like -20 Celsius every single day. And my car's just been dead for 2 months, and today, for whatever reason, I woke up to those rejections, and I went to the bathroom, I looked into the mirror, I saw my disheveled piece of shit look in the mirror. This is another thing too, a few years ago, or like, up to a year ago, when I go to the bathroom, I realize, like, I look in the mirror and I feel good, right? I just be like, oh, that's me, the person in the mirror is me. And just like, hey, that's me, I got a future ahead of me. Nice, right? Let me just take my piss or take my shit. And for the past few months now, when I go to the bathroom, I avoid looking into the mirror. I don't want to look at myself. I don't know. I haven't thought about this in depth, really. I usually do a lot of introspection, but this is kind of something I've never thought of. Just, I've been avoiding myself in the mirror. It's just, I don't want to look at myself. I feel like such a failure. And I don't want this to be like such a Debbie Downer video, but I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of funny too, I just I looked in the mirror today, and I just saw I was like a disheveled piece of shit. And I had like this little burst of motivation, right? I was like, that's it. Enough is enough, That reminds me, actually, like the past few months, I have had so little semblance of control over my life that the only, I'd say the only thing that I felt that I had control over was me ordering Uber Eats. So literally the only thing I would say that even resembles anything close to being proactive in my life. It's like, that's it, enough is enough. Let's see what Uber Eats has to offer the king today. And I literally say this in my head over and over, like every single day. And I didn't think it was that funny until I said it in front of someone, and she thought it was the funniest thing ever. I was like, that's it, enough is enough. Let's see what Uber Eats has to offer. I think I said this in class. And apparently it was the funniest thing ever, and I didn't think it was that funny. Let's see what Uber Eats has to offer the king today. And because I didn't think it was funny because I'm totally serious. Like, that's, Uber Eats is the only thing that makes me feel even remotely close to not being an absolute loser. Like, just food, I guess. And where was I anyway? So I was just like, enough is enough. I'm going to start tending to the other aspects of my life, right? And it all starts by getting my car fixed. What a mistake, man. What an absolute mistake. Immediately got beaten down back to where I belong. Just let me tell you the story right quick. So I called my car dealership, right, about how my car doesn't start. And I was just like, yeah, man, I haven't started my car over the past few months. Now it doesn't start. I think, maybe the battery's dead or something. And the guy on the other end was just so rude. Like, oh, why didn't you start your car? In Chicago winter, you're supposed to start your car. You're supposed to start your car, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know. I knew, obviously you're supposed to start your car, to keep your battery, to keep your battery from leaking in the winter. But, I was just like, oh yeah, I didn't know, that's my bad. And he just kept drilling on it, like, you're supposed to start your car. You're supposed to start your car in the winter. What was I supposed to say, man? Yeah, man, I didn't start my car for a few months because I'm getting raped in the job market and I was too depressed and guilty to leave my room before finding a job. What was I supposed to say, right? I was, yeah, my bad. What can I do here? And yeah, they recommended this company that they work with to see if my car can get jump started. And if not, then they had to tow my car to the dealership. And so I called the company, and right off the bat, it was already like a complete red flag how unprofessional they were. The guy on the other end was like, oh, we're going to send someone over. He's going to be there in 60 to 90 minutes. And I was like, yeah, perfect, because I was in class by then. And 60 to 90 minutes, perfect, And 5 minutes later, some guy called me, and he's like, where are you? Where are you? And I was like, oh, you're already here? All right, I'm coming. And so I left my class early because I wasn't learning shit anyway. And I jogged home. It was like a 20-minute walking distance from where I was to my apartment. And so I just jogged in the middle of the snow. I was like, yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I don't even know what I was thinking, right? They told me 60 to 90 minutes, and the guy just came instantly in 5 minutes. I guess I just wanted to get it done, I don't want like to miss it, I guess, and then have to reschedule it or whatever. But I just want to get one thing right in my life. And so yeah, I jogged home, and when I arrived at my apartment, he called me again, and he was like, sorry, I gotta pee, I'll be right there. And I was just like stuck there waiting for a solid half an hour because he said he'll be right here. I was like, I didn't even go up to my room. I was just sitting in the lobby, and it was cold as hell. And I was just waiting there for a solid half an hour. And then I called him in the middle, and I was like, hey man, I'm here. I'm ready whenever you are. And he was getting another job done, man. He lied to me. He said he was going to take a piss. He literally went off to get another job done. And it's like, all right, whatever. He's like, oh, I'll be right there. I'm just getting this job done. I'll be right there. And so yeah, he finally came over, and it was this boomer guy, probably in his like 60s, 50s, late 50s or 60s. And because it was so cold out, guys, it's actually just so cold here in Chicago. And I really appreciated him for coming. So I was trying to talk to him, I was trying to vibe with him, as he was trying to jumpstart my car. And so, he was hooking the red and black wires to like different ends of the front of my car. And I was just like, oh, so, what does that do? How do you know which end of the wires to hook it to? And, just like that, my car started. And I was pretty relieved too, because if I had to tow my car, that would have been $400, right? And the jump start itself was already $130, which honestly, it's pretty ridiculous already, man. They just sent a guy over. It was like 5 minutes away with like a jump starter kit, and it just took 20 seconds for $130. But whatever, man. This is America, right? Eggs are $12, and so I'm a pretty cautious person too. So I asked him like a few questions, like, hey, so what's wrong with my car? Is there any permanent damage to the battery? Is there an issue with the alternator? Are you able to tell, or is it not clear? Like, should I get the battery replaced? I mean, basically I was trying to avoid dying, right? I don't want something to happen to my car on the highway. And, it's one thing to have my car die in the garage. It's another, like, if I'm on the highway and my battery suddenly goes out. And yeah, it's a life and death situation. So I was just trying to avoid dying. And so, I mean, at this point, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, I just asked him over and over, are you sure this battery's fine? And like, do I need to get it replaced? And he's like, no, it's fine. He was just brushing me off. Like, no problem, no problem. Your car is fine. No problem, no problem. And the only instruction he gave me was he told me to drive my car around for 20 minutes. Literally a one-line instruction. He's like, just drive your car around for 20 minutes. And yeah, so, I asked over and over, are you sure nothing's wrong? And he's like, yeah, it's all fine. And so I thanked him. And when it was time to pay, I was like, hey man, do you prefer cash or card? I didn't have to ask this. I didn't care, but I was just trying to be nice, because some of these workers, they might be working for a company or something, and they might prefer cash just because there's no paper trail. And I don't know, maybe they get to keep more of it. I don't know. So I offered it, and he didn't seem to care. So I just paid by card, and minus 130 just for a simple jump start is what it is. But I don't know, maybe some people in my comments are gonna be like, oh, you gotta be a man, you gotta be a man, get your own jump starter kit, you pussy ass boy. Guys, I'm just trying to get my life back together one step at a time. I'm not trying to be a car expert or anything and buy one of those jump starter kits, so 130 for a jump start, fine. And then he left, right? And there was just a bunch of issues with the car after that. Like the screen, the maps wouldn't open. There was no audio. So I left my car running for 20 minutes. I didn't want to drive it around because I was a little worried about whether the car really did work. And so, I turned the engine off after 20 minutes to see if the audio, all the things will start working again by restarting my engine. And well, guess what? I couldn't turn the engine on. My car was dead again. So I called the guy and I was like, hey man, my car's dead again. What's going on? And he was like, oh, did you turn off the engine? Why did you turn off the engine? And then he turned it around on me, right? I was like, yeah, I thought you said just leave it on for 20 minutes, and I did. And so, I left it on for 20 minutes, and then I shut the engine off, and it stopped working again. I guess the battery's dead again. And he was like, no, I told you 40 minutes. And I was like, no, you definitely said 20. And at this point, I was also thinking, if my car is just instantly dying like that, does 20 or 40 minutes really matter? Is there really that big of a difference? It just, again, this is this isn't a toy, right? It's a car. I don't want to be driving a faulty car around. So, my intuition was telling me that the battery was busted. And again, I know nothing about this stuff, but he was just like, he's supposed to be the expert here. So I was listening to him. He was just like, no, you were so focused on the red and the black wires, you weren't listening. I said 40 minutes. And yeah, I just thought it was crazy how he was constantly being completely just so defensive, constantly trying to turn my kindness around on me. Why was I asking about the red and black wires? I don't care. I can look that shit up. But when he was working on my car, we were actually having a nice conversation too. The vibe was chill and all. I wasn't trying to force the conversation, The weather was cold. I just wanted to show some appreciation, some warmth, and I was just talking to him. And now he was using that to turn it around on me. Oh, you were so focused on the wires. And and then he was like, well, the job is done. He kept saying the job is done. And I'm like, well, you said there's no problem with my car and I trusted you. And now it wouldn't start again. And he just kept saying over and over, no, the job is done, but I'll come over to start it again if you give me $50 cash. And yeah, that just came out of nowhere, and I was just completely baffled. I was like, yeah, all right, well, can we make a deal? Can we do 30? I don't have $50 in cash. And then he was like, but you told me you were gonna pay $130 in cash, so I know you have the cash. It's so ridiculous, guys. You try to be kind, and you just get hustled. That's just the type of world we live in, So it really eye-opening, honestly. How I just found that so thick-skinned. And yeah, like if you don't know what's going on with my car, just say you don't know, right? He was saying over and over how everything's fine, like my car's fine. And when it didn't start again, he like turned it around on me. Anyway, so like he just came over, and he came over again, and it took 2 seconds for him to jumpstart my car again. Yeah, $50, I guess. And again, I asked over and over. At this point, I cared less about the money and more about just how my car is doing. I didn't want to just have my car die out in the middle of the highway. And so I just kept asking, is there really no issue with the battery? Are you sure? Are you sure? He was just like, no problem, no problem. Oh, and this was the most ridiculous part, guys. I asked him, but what if I have to fuel my car? I'd have to shut the engine off, right? And he was like, no, you don't have to turn the engine off when you fuel the car. And I was just completely blown away at this point. I was like, what? It's always been my impression that the car explodes if you don't turn it off refueling it. And then he just went off on this tangent saying how, oh, a lot of women don't turn off their cars when refueling, they're on their phones. And he just randomly started making fun of like women being on their phones at the gas station. It was just so bizarre. Yeah, and he was like, no, you don't have to. Again, I just kept like, I was just completely blown away. So I asked over and over, wow, so you really don't have to turn off the engine when you refuel? He's like, no, you don't. And yeah, and he just told me to drive my car around for 40 minutes. This time it's 40, 20 the first time, 40 this time, who knows, next time it's going to be 60 minutes. And then, when I was on the road, I felt like something was off. Just like my gut feeling, I just felt like something was off about the battery situation, and I don't want my car to just suddenly die on me. It's like a life or death kind of situation. Easier if I just died, but like if I got like heavily injured or something, at this point I'm already jobless, right? I can't deal with like a broken leg or something. So yeah, I just drove straight to the dealership, and they told me, yeah, buddy, your battery is completely busted. You have to get it replaced. And yeah, so I got replaced. New battery, that's another minus 250 again. Just constantly hemorrhaging capital while having zero future income, thanks to the job market. And yeah, I also asked them about the fuel thing, and they're like, yep, nope, you definitely need to shut your engine off. So guys, you definitely have to shut your engine off when you refuel, Learn nothing new, but somehow that was like the most important information of the day. So I don't know, man. I haven't interacted with people for a few months, and my first interaction was just with this clueless boomer, all because I wanted to, take one step into getting my life back on track. And again, like if you don't know, just say you don't know. He kept misleading me too. Again, like the money, he tried to hustle me, fine, but like this could have been dangerous. And yeah, I was just pretty fucking disappointed, honestly. You try to be nice, you try to be kind, and yeah, he was just telling me how I can just fuel my car with the engine on, with just total sheer conviction. You should have seen how he said it. He could have said something like, 1 equals 2, and I would have totally believed him. With just how confident he was saying it. And thank God I didn't believe that crap. Someone else might have believed him and gotten into a car accident. But anyway, it's getting a little cold in my car, so I should probably head up. Anyway, see you next time, I guess.